Hello, Gareth here. And so we're going to paint some figures today in watercolour, and we're not going to use a pencil. We're just going to use a round brush, this, and one colour. My colour is going to be phthalo blue, but you can use any colour. I wouldn't recommend a very light colour though, such as yellow. Something darker. Black is okay, blue is okay, dark brown is fine, even dark green. But black and blue maybe are the best. So these are the figures that I'm going to paint with you today. Now this is going to be just a 5-minute lesson, and then there's going to be another video after this, and we're just going to develop on what we learned. This is for beginners, and it's just we're going to break it down, the watercolor process, and we're going to build you up. We're using the minimum of materials, and we're just going to make it simple. We're going to have some fun. We're going to mess up as well, because that's important to do. We don't want to get tight and rigid. Okay, lecture over. I will put these images at the end of the video. So what you can do is you can pause the video at the end and you can look at these images, and then you can copy them and have a go for yourself in your own time. So if there's things I've missed out, if there's things I've done wrong in this video, then give me some comments, and I will take that into consideration and try and work with what you say. So here we go. So using just blue. And so the first important point is, when you look at a figure, think shape. So let's do this figure first. Really, what we've got here is just a line going down, and then we've got maybe this hat thing going across, 2 arms, and then these legs, okay? And you can only really see this one. So let's have a go at that. So get a nice mix, not too thick, not too watery. And so first of all, I do the head like this, and that's it, that's the head. And then the body is a bit like a square, like that. And then the arms. So I've got an arm curving around like this. And then a hand on the end, which is just more or less like that. And then we've got an arm over here. And then it goes up like that. And I've made it too long, and that's okay. And then the hand here. And then let's do the legs. So I use my rag here because I don't want this too watery. Like that. That's one leg. And then it comes down here. And then we've got another leg here. And there we go. And then I can round off the head. And I can do a line here just to suggest a hat. And then if we want, we can do this backpack, which is just a shape like this. And then there's another big shape here. She's carrying a lot of stuff. And there we go. And we can put a shadow. There's a shadow. And I think the sun is directly above her because the shadow is directly below her. And then we've got a line coming down here. If you've got a nice brush, you can get a fairly thin line. There we go. Like that. So that's number 1 done. And I probably did that too carefully. So let's do the next one. I'm going to do this guy bending over. I like this shape a lot. So once again, I tend to start with the head. That's just me. And the head's just more or less a square. And then we've got this body. So I look at the shoulders, got shoulder going up. And like I said, you've got to think shapes and angles. So the angle comes down like this, and then he's got his shirt like this, and then we can just block that in. And then we've got a big arm coming down like this, and then the hand here and a finger here, and maybe his head needs to be bigger, so let's change that. So if you make it too big, one part, then just make everything else bigger. I know you can't do that in a real painting, but you can here. And then he's got a bag here, and then his legs. Let's have a look. So he's got one leg coming down here and another leg coming down here. There's a slight gap. There we go. And then he's got this big pocket. And there's not much of a shadow on this guy, so I'm just going to create a little shadow here. Like that. And there we go. Nice little figure. Okay, so that's another one done. And let's go on to the next one. So the next one, let's do this chap sitting down, yeah? So I really like this posture, the legs, the leaning back. So this is the way I look at it. I do look at like the basic shape, like we've got an angle here, and then we've got one coming here, here, and then one coming like that. So you're looking at the shapes. So here we go. Here's the head. And I really shouldn't worry about the cap, the brim too much at this point, but there you go. And then his shoulder again, it comes out like that. Then it goes pretty much straight down. But this side, just a small shoulder. And then arm coming down like that. Now this bit's tricky. It's like that. You really have to look at shapes and angles. And then he's got an arm coming across here. His hand goes there. And then he's got a leg here. Now it comes out quite far, about that far. And then his leg goes down like that. So it's fat at the top and it gets thinner, right? And then he's got some sandals here. Okay, and then let's do the other leg. So there's his bottom. Then his leg is about here. And then his sandal is slightly different angle, and there we go. And it's got a nice shape to it. I'm not sure, maybe he was a bit more slanted back than this one, but that's okay. And then let's do this seat, this bench. So big bar across the back. Bit coming down here, a bit coming down here, and then there's a bit he's sitting on. And then metal bar there and there. And then the shadow is below him, but I'm going to make it over here a bit, just for interest. And there we go. There's another one. So I really have to try and mess these up a bit so you don't get too serious. Next, I'm going to do this person here, yeah, with the backpack. So basically, I've got her cap. Oh, and so I've done that too big. Now you can erase with watercolour. Watch this, get a tissue. Look, it's mostly gone. And if I was really serious and this was a good painting, I would let that dry and then I'd go over it with a brush and pure water and then wipe it up. By the way, I'm not using watercolour paper. I'm using multimedia paper. It's half the price, and for beginners it's brilliant. I mean, you won't be able to do fantastic stuff that you can do on watercolour paper, but as a beginner I would recommend it. It also makes you feel a bit relaxed because you know this is not so expensive. So I've done her cap, head, and then she's got one of these bunchy things, her hair's in a bunch, and then shoulder here. And then I just first of all do her without the backpack. And then an arm coming down here, and then her body here. And people's bodies, human bodies, are really just like planks of wood, and then at the end they split up. Here's a leg, and if I want that a bit more dry brush like, this is a bit too much for today's lesson, but just use your rag, and then if it's very dry you'll get dry brush like that, yeah. And then like that. Dry brush for legs is good because it makes it look as though the legs are in motion. Okay, then her backpack. So that backpack really comes out quite far. And you have to paint fairly quickly if you can because the paint dries. But don't worry too much about it. Okay, and then let's just do a shadow underneath her. Oh, maybe do a shadow going across like that. Okay, there we go. That will do. Maybe I'll have her arm coming out a little bit more and then a hand on the end like that. So that's kind of like the fingers there, and that tiny bit there is the thumb. It just looks a bit more like a real hand doing that, but don't worry too much about hands. Hands are very difficult. Next, we're doing this guy. Look at him. He looks like a perfect plank, and then he's got this big backpack on him, which is just like a rectangle. So, but I do the head separately because you've got this thin part, the neck, right? And you want to show that neck. Okay, but then here's his body. It comes slightly out. And then his legs, well, his bottom there. And then one leg like that. Comes down like that. And then there's a bit of a curve there, like that. Especially see that if people are wearing tight pants or whatever. And there's his other leg, and then looks like he's got his hands in his pockets, and then the backpack, remember, see it as a shape. Got to see these things as like just blobs. Like, does it look a bit like a rectangle with a little bit coming out here? And at the bottom, it's like that, but there's just a slight curve on that corner, like that. And then let's do his arms. So he's got one arm coming around here, and then it comes out here. It ends there, actually. Shall we make it a little bit longer? And then he's got another one that's just up here, another arm. And there's the hand, not quite right, but there we go. And then do that, and the hairs are, it's like a blade now. This is like a blade. And so, whoosh, look at that. Whoosh. It's nice if you can do the whole lot with just one brush, right? Okay, we're going to do one more, and we're going to do this figure. So here we go. There's her cap, then her head. So if you learn to do these figures, then when you do a real painting and you're going to add a figure at the end as like a focal point, you just don't have to worry too much about screwing it up, because if you've done this a few times, you'll have some kind of idea about how to actually paint a half decent figure. Also, you can use these things as reference. Okay. And then her legs, I just see them as shapes. Look at that. It's like a rectangle at an angle. And then dry brush. So one foot, one part of her leg goes down like that. Bit long, but that's okay. And the other part goes like that. And she's actually got smaller legs than that, but who cares? It works, so go with it. There. And give her a shadow. Oh, okay, we're going to have a shadow like this. And that backpack. Wow, that shadow, maybe not quite so good, but there you go. Who cares? So, there you go. Have a go and let me know how it goes for you. Let me know if it's too difficult. Shall we put a rock here? There we go. Give it a shadow. Okay, so anyway, let me know how it goes, because I really want to know if this is too difficult or this is good. It should only take you about 5 or 10 minutes, and hopefully it will be fun. And in the next lesson, we're going to do 6 more figures, because practice makes much better. And after this, you can see some photos that you can pause and use as reference, these photos. Okay, happy painting. Bye for now.